Hello, ladies. This is Melanie Spring, and I am hosting Raushawna Price today for her talk, How to Discover Your Awesomeness in the Face of Adversity. She's going to be talking about adult bullying today, and I want to make sure that you have your notebook handy because she just talked about how she's going to be doing it as a how-to. So you better have a notebook and pen and get that all that stuff ready. But in the chat, I want you to post where you're coming from and who you are and tell us a little bit about you and what you're excited to get out of this talk today. So if you can do that, make sure you put it under where the two is on the chat. Make sure it says 2 panelists and attendees so that we can make sure everyone's seeing all of your stuff. So make sure that you're doing the chat. And this is a 5-day virtual summit. So we're on day 4, and this is the last talk of day 4. But Raushawna is going to be bringing it home for us today with all of her incredible knowledge and a lot of her own personal stories, which I'm excited to hear about. And I want to make sure that you can make sure that you're tagging her, Raushawna Price, on all of the different channels and check her out on the page, but also make sure you tag at Women in Business Club and hashtag Women Thrive Summit. So if there's anything that you're looking for out of this, I'm going to be keeping track of all of the questions while she's going through it. She's going to be pausing and kind of getting a little interaction from you at the same time. But if you have questions throughout and we miss it, we're going to get to it at the end. So don't feel like we're just completely ignoring you if you do have questions on that. If you have specific questions you want to call out, go to the Q&A button at the bottom and make sure that you add those in there so we can definitely add those to the end. But I'll be keeping track of all of it while I'm hanging out watching this incredible talk from Raushawna Price. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Raushawna, and let's get you started.
All right. Thank you for having me, Melanie. Thank you. Hello, ladies. I'm glad you're here. I see everyone. Wow, people are here from Charlotte, from Trinidad and Tobago, Atlanta. Big shout outs to everyone. So I'm Raushawna Price, known as the Giver of Awesomeness. That is my official registered trademark. And I use it because I was trying to figure out, like, what am I doing? What is my title supposed to be? For all of you out there in business, you have to have a title, a brand, something. I really wasn't sure when I started my journey 2.5 years ago. And so when I was on LinkedIn trying to figure it out, I started thinking, what do people say about me? Who am I supposed to be, Lord? That's what I would say. That's what I was asking. And you're a giver, you're awesome, yes, you rock, you're amazing, came, and then it was like, giver of awesomeness. So I trademarked the phrase, and ever since then, I've been on this mission to help people discover their inner awesomeness. It's the hidden gifts, the hidden talents that you may possess. And so the first question is, what's your hope? Because ultimately, you're here for a reason. You signed up, you actually got online, you're here with a pen and a piece of paper, or at least you're listening because you have a hope for today. And I want to know what your hope is. So as you're telling us where you're from, make sure that you pop your hope in to the chat as well. Why is that important? You may be like, well, what is my hope for the day? Hope is the start. Hope is the thing that we tend to want to move forward with. Hope is what helps us, like, I want to get going. I have this hope that something's going to happen. Tracy says, I hope that I can tap into my awesomeness. Perhaps you're hoping to find, how do you grow your business? How do you get over feeling sad? How do you get over someone mistreating you or saying mean things or doing mean things? That's a hope. What I'm going to talk to you today about how hope is not a strategy. That's right. Hope is not a strategy. While it is an amazing thing, it gets us started. It does not fuel us along a journey. Hope is the beginning, but what we have to do after that is explore and choose. We have to explore and choose who we are, what we want, and that's why you're here. And that's why I'm committed to helping you find your awesomeness so that you can give it to the world around you. Be able to choose what is it that you want to do, making your own choices and not settling for what someone else says you're supposed to do, or you went to college for that, so you should do that, or you grew up this way, so you can only do these things. None of that. We're not doing any of that. Today is about exploring and choosing. So before we go forward, I want to make sure you know who I am, and like really know who I am, not the picture you've seen before. If you were watching any of the promos, I have different headshots. This is me today. Hair's done, got a little makeup on. This is a headshot from about a year and a half ago with my family. So this is a version of me. This is my family. I always give them honor when I'm speaking. So that's my husband, Giovanni. We are going to celebrate 15 years of marriage in July. And I did pause because I was like, I got to think about it. And then we have 2 children, our son Zion, who will actually be 12 in May, and then our daughter Zoe, who also has a May birthday, and she will be 8. So this is my family. This is a version of me that people know. Some people know it from afar by looking at pictures. Other people know it personally because they know me personally. But this is the me that I want you to know and experience and understand why I'm here today, and why, if you take nothing from this talk, I want you to know that this is real, because this is me. This is the me that's here for you today, because perhaps you've been in a bathroom somewhere crying your eyes out because of something that someone else said to you, some words that were hurled at you like darts, something that pierced your soul in a way that left you broken. If that's you, then I want you to know you're not alone. And this was me. I was out of the country traveling with business on a business consulting role, actually, at the time. I was about a year into my business, and I found myself in a place that I had been before, where I was crying in the bathroom. Only this time I was like, I can't get any lower, because not only am I away from home on a 5-day trip, not only do I love the person and respect the person that has now hurt me so deeply, I am now sitting in the bathroom stall in a hotel lobby bathroom crying my eyes out because I have to get some kind of courage, some kind of strength to move forward. And I don't even know what that's going to look like. And I remember taking these pictures after I listened to some praise and worship music. I was listening to and watching some YouTube videos of superheroes, because I love superheroes. I just think they're amazing. Gamora is one of my favorites if you follow any of the Marvel characters. And so I remember listening and watching and praying to God, because I'm a believer, going, Lord, you're going to have to help me. Like, you're going to have to make this moment something. And at the time I didn't know. Then when I took these pictures, that I would use them as much as I have. I just knew, like, this moment matters and it's significant, because I'm so low, all I can do is look up. And if that's been you before, or if you can relate to that, then this is what it looks like. And it's ugly, and it's definitely not pretty, but there's power here. I want you to know that there is power here. And I am grateful for this moment in my life. And I want you to be grateful for your moment when it happens to you. If it hasn't happened, or if it's already happened to you, I'm going to show you how you can use these moments in your life. How's that sound? I see the chat is like going a little crazy. So powerful. Ugly, yes. Sounds good. I can relate. Absolutely. This is where we are. Because the question that I asked, and perhaps you've asked yourself, is why me? Why me? Why is this happening to me? Why are you saying these things to me? Why is this happening? Why me? It is the first question that we ask, and it kind of feels like this. I found this picture and I was like, yes, it feels like you're moving forward, or you're on your way somewhere, and then all of a sudden it's like your whole face is like splattered against a window, or you just get this stop. And I didn't sign up for this moments, or what happened, and how did I get here moments happen. These are the questions and the moments in our lives that we tend to go, yeah, this sucks. And then there are other people that go, oh, it's not that bad. Or, oh, just pick yourself up and dust yourself off and keep going. But the truth is, it sucks. But it happens, and it happens to you, and it's happened to me for a reason. The reason why is because you have something. Because awesomeness has a face. And adversity has a face. Adversity is what happens when our faces are slammed up against a wall and we're like, how did I get here? How did I sign up for this? I didn't. I don't think I did, or I didn't think it was going to look like this. And it happens in relationships. It happens in your job. It happens in business. When we encounter what I call awesomeness stealers, These are bullies that are in our lives, and we might not even think about bullies in this way. But awesomeness stealers are people who see your gift, they see your talent, and then they want to use it against you. These are those people. They see you. They kind of come for you in some way, and then they're bullies. They bully you into believing that you don't have something, that you aren't good enough, or that perhaps the thing that you were going after is not that important, or you can do it, but you can't do it without me. If that's ever happened, keep on listening. And we're going to talk about it. I'm going to show you what this looks like. I'm going to introduce you right now to one of the awesomeness stealers that's in my book called Be a Giver of Awesomeness. In the book, I talk about 5 different awesomeness stealers. And today I'm going to introduce you to the Deceiver. This is where, if you have a notepad and a pencil, get ready, because I'm going to give you the definition of a deceiver. So the deceiver looks like this, and I had an illustrator illustrate this photo because my next step is to bring each of these characters out in their own illustrated book. The deceiver intentionally holds back information as a way to control you. That's right. They intentionally hold back information. These are people who have a big picture around something and they don't share it with you, but they come to you because they know you have awesomeness. You have something that they can use to their advantage to get ahead, or to get going, or to get moving forward in some way. And they want to control you. Here's how you know that you've encountered a deceiver. First thing is they survey. Deceivers, and the reason it looks like a bird is because deceivers do just that. They find a place and they start to survey. They kind of swirl around. They fly through the area. They walk through office areas. They're on social media, maybe looking at your posts now, and they're trying to survey. Who are you? What strengths do you have? How can I see more about who you are? And then they stop and perch for a while, and they just kind of sit. Sometimes they're really still. Sometimes they're actively going to and fro because they're calculating. Deceivers calculate. What is it that you have? What is it that you have that I can use? That's what they're trying to figure out. And then they set a trap. This is what this looked like in my life. And so the picture I showed you before is actually the ruffling and the kill of what happened to me. So I was at that moment in the bathroom. I had finished having a conversation with a deceiver in my life. This deceiver and I were working on a project. We had been working on it for a while, but I didn't know that the deceiver was actually taking the small part of what I was doing, which was the start. I had started the work, and they were taking my ideas and my start and actually using it as a part of work that they were doing with other people. And they were taking my work and saying it was their own. That's what they were doing. And they wouldn't tell me. And when I was asking questions that day, they were getting upset. So they ruffled up. Their feathers got all big. When you've met a deceiver, you're met with anger, you're met with frustration, and some kind of ruffle up of some sort where they try to get bigger than you are and make you feel small, because they're trying to kill your confidence. They're trying to kill your inner drive to move forward. You know that you've met a deceiver when you leave feeling confused and wondering, like, what just happened? What was that? Is what you're asking. Does that make sense? I'm going to check the chat just to see. OMG, oh my God, can't count how many times I've met this in my career. Yes, this happens in the career. This happens. Covert narcissist. Yes, that's a part of the personality. Unfortunately,
we've got a lot of people talking about this. Everyone's been there. Yes, of course.
Yes.
Yep, me too. And just an FYI for everyone who's on this, a lot of you are still on all panelists, so most people can't see your comments. So make sure that you put all panelists and attendees so that everyone can see your comments, because we all want to share and we want to show that it's not just Raushawna. It's actually a lot more of us. And there's so many people that are missing your comments on that. So make sure to do that.
Yeah, make sure, go to all panelists and all attendees so everyone can see. And I see that this is resonating, and I want you to know that This is the process that they go through. Sometimes the deceiver doesn't even know they're going through it, or they've just been doing it so long. It's kind of a part of how they show up. But you leave wondering, like, what was that? That was so weird. I'm confused. You may leave a meeting or somewhere, especially when we could drive places, and you would spend the whole drive home going back through the conversation, replaying it, trying to figure out, like, what went wrong? You may start to question yourself, but it doesn't have to be that way. Ultimately, the deceiver is trying to get you to stop because they don't want you to figure it out. So if they get you to stop in some way, then they know, okay, I can still continue to control them. Ultimately, this is kind of how you feel, or at least this is how I felt. Like, man, like I'm up against a wall. Sometimes I would feel like I don't exist, or like I was looking at somebody else's life through a window, or I was always trying to replay and go back, like, I should have done that differently. Man, I could have said it differently. Like maybe I caused this to happen, all of that. But I want you to know, after today, after like right after this, from now on, the next time that happens in your life, just know this is a deceiver and they're deceiving you because you have something. Ultimately, every single awesomeness stealer that you encounter is leaving you breadcrumbs to the gifts that you have. That's your awesomeness. And we're going to discover it. I like to call the process flipping the flow. And for those of you who don't know, I have an industrial engineering background, a bachelor's and master's. So I have this whole creative side of me, but I also like a process and a flow chart. And if that's you, virtual high five, because these chevrons in this process is something that you can duplicate. So it starts really with the question of like, okay, I have this awesomeness stealer. Who is this person? And then you have to walk through the what they did and what they said and your initial thoughts and feelings. Like I said before, like this sucks. Sometimes it really sucks. I remember in the bathroom that day, I had all of these thoughts and all of these feelings, and the tears were flowing and flowing. And ultimately, I thought I might want to just stop. And that's sometimes what we do, is we try to stop in this is the feelings that I have. And when we talk about bullying and negative feelings, sometimes we're taught to just shove it down, act like that didn't happen, forget about it, just move on. But that's not what we're supposed to do if we want to find our awesomeness. Ultimately, we have to flip it and find the greater good. There is this moment where that negativity can actually be a spring for you to move forward. This is what it looks like. And I'm going specific into the story with the deceiver so that you can actually see it modeled in my life to use it for yours. So the deceiver is who I was right in the face of the deceiver as they're pointing at me, as they're yelling at me. And in those moments, even when your body is feeling like, oh, heart is pounding, stomach is turning, I want you to do your very best to listen to what they're saying. In that moment, what the deceiver said to me is that I'm holding back information about the project. Raushawna, you don't need to know that. Why are you asking these questions? Those were the words. Raushawna, that's not for you to know. You're just supposed to do the last thing I asked you to do. That was how that conversation was going. But when you listen to what they say and then you process it in your feelings, I remember thinking, am I not good enough to know all the information? Am I not trusted was another thought I had. But taking the I'm not good enough to know all of the information, but also understanding that I was doing the work. I was doing the work that was being asked of me. The greater good was that I didn't need to have all the information to get started. The fact was I was starting without all of the information. And there are lots of people in this world that can't start without information. They have to have the whole picture. That's not who I am. And that deceiver knew that about me, which was why when I was asking for more information, they were getting flustered and frustrated and ruffling. So this is how you discover your awesomeness. It's right on the other side of the greater good, because you have the deceiver. The deceiver is telling you things. My deceiver was telling me that they were holding back information that I didn't need to know. And my initial thought was, I'm going to stop in my feelings and I'm just going to stay in my feelings. This is where I want you to avoid. Do not call people that are your amen corner, your amen girlfriends, your amen friends, and people that are going to be like, yeah, that was terrible. they're so mean. And then they just validate your bad feelings. Don't do that. What you want to do is get to the greater good, to flip the flow into asking yourself, well, if I didn't need all that information and I was still doing something, that's how you get to the awesomeness, because ultimately on the other side of it is what you're doing. I'm a starter. I get going. Taking the thing that people are saying about you of what you're not doing and turning it into what you are doing is where your awesomeness lies. That's how you discover your awesomeness in the face of adversity. Every challenge that someone is saying to you, every time someone is saying what you're not doing, how you're not showing up, or how they hoped you would have done this or hoped you could have been like that, on the other side of that hope is your strategy, where they're saying to you, oh, the fact that you're hoping that I did it means that you believe I can do it. And so if you think I can do it, I have something. The fact that they're asking you and coming to you is a sign that you have something. They could have chosen anyone else in this world, and they're choosing you for a reason. Does that make sense? Ultimately, you want to unlock your awesomeness. And I say this all the time, bullies have no power, only a purpose. They have a purpose. They want to help you. Even the worst things that they say, it's to help you. So the things that you can do is to decide to start to make a choice, to think of yourself in an I am, and an I can, and an I do statements. Every single awesomeness stealer, every single encounter, and we can work through some of yours if you have them in the chat or if you have questions, leads you somewhere to something that you can do, something that you are, something that you will accomplish. Okay? Before I open it up, I want to make sure that you know that you can claim your victory every single time. Every time you're in a bully situation, I don't care if you are in the bathroom and you're talking to your best friend on the phone, you're in your kitchen and you're talking to your husband, you're talking to your children, you're talking to your best friend, you're at a playground. Let's just be honest. If you're a mom out there, there are some mean moms. There are some mean moms that try to one-up people. You then can have victory even in that moment with people that are trying to steal your awesomeness, because awesomeness is within you. That's it. You've got it. It's there for you. So I'm going to stop sharing my slides so that I can engage with you more and we can just talk about all this, because there's a lot more I can share, but I really want this to be relevant for every single person that's here.
Raushawna, thank you so much for this. This has been so powerful, so quick, and so like punch you in the face with like, hello, wake up. You can't just like call. I love the part where you just said, you can't just call your amen friends and be like, yeah, totally, that's just terrible. And then like, because you all know that we have them. We have those people that we're like, if I want to feel even worse and continue to feel worse, I'm going to call those people who are going to be on my side about this, and I'm right about this, and they're going to let me complain about it. But yeah, all up in that. Heck yeah. So if you have questions, let's start the conversation. We've still got some time, and we want to make sure that we can get your questions. And there's no questions yet. There's a lot of heck yeahs, a lot of high fives, a lot of like, yes, me too.
Makes a lot of sense. Yes.
Yeah. So give us your questions. If you want to put them in the Q&A, you can do it in there. If you want to just post them in the chat, feel free to do that. But as you're bringing up any questions, I wanted to ask you, Raushawna, why is this so heavy on your heart? I know a lot of people have been bullied, and you know a lot of people have been bullied, but like, why is this something that you were just like, I have to make sure that people know that this is a thing? Like, can you give us a little bit more about that?
Because I'm tired of seeing people play small and feel like I can't because someone said. They're really living out a soundtrack of their life that someone else gave them. They are I'm like, shatter the lies. Like, let's go through. I have a whole course where I take people through a whole process so that in 6 weeks they can get over all of the limiting beliefs that somebody said to them. And sometimes it happens when you're small and then you believe it. You just keep believing it. It's the whole, like, I'm not good at sports. Okay, well, who told you that?
Yeah.
Maybe you haven't found the right one. Or a lot of women here are getting their businesses started. And I experienced the same thing in business that I experienced when I was working. This sense of, I'm a And as you can see, I'm one of those people that's like, it doesn't take me a lot. I don't need a lot of words. Like, I want to break this thing down so it's simple. And for some people, that's super frustrating. And so when I was in my business world job in corporate and have a big title and all of that, people would say things like, Raushawna, you're trying to make this too simple. And they would get frustrated because I was trying to simplify things. And I would say, you're trying to make this way too complicated. Nobody's going to remember that.
Yeah.
And so now I just look for places and people that want simple. And that's how I serve them.
Isn't it
That's
great
my
when you finally
awesomeness.
like hit the people that you're like, oh, you're exactly who I'm supposed to be working with, and I can actually help you. I'm not fighting with you the whole time.
That's
Isn't
right.
that awesome?
I'm not fighting with you. I don't need to. That's right.
Yeah. So we have a question in the Q&A, and then it says, what about if it's your partner or your family member who's bullying you?
Yeah, I get this a lot. The first is depending on if they live in your house or not. And I'm going to give you two different answers. Because if they're in your house and you live with them, they're a partner, you're in a relationship, and there is love that is there, you have to be brave enough to address the behavior and ask the question. Because whether they're a deceiver or a hoarder or a minimizer or any of the other stealers, they may not know. They really may not know. It could be behavior that has gotten them what they've needed and wanted in other places, and they're just now using it because they think it works. So that's the first thing. You said, yeah, because they think it works. Yeah. So that's the first thing. And then once you make them aware, look at the gap that exists. The gap that exists between what people say and what they do. So once you've brought it to their attention, if they continue that, if they say, I'm going to be better, I'm going to do better, but what they do is not better, then there's a gap that exists, and you guys have to see if you can work that out. Okay. If there's somebody that you love, but they're not in your house and not in your, like, you don't have to engage with them every day, I say you still want to you want to ask the question, but you first need to decide what you want out of the relationship. Because sometimes there are people that you love, but you can love them from afar.
You don't
may
have to
just want
like
to forgive
everybody.
them.
You can love them and not like them.
Right. Absolutely.
Somebody
posted
just
earlier.
posted. Oh, go ahead. Keep going.
Go ahead.
No, you're fine. I was just adding to it.
Oh, no, I was going to say that earlier I posted on my Facebook page that forgiveness is not reconciliation. And that those two things can get conflated where you put them together. And sometimes when somebody has bullied you or hurt you, you can forgive them, but that doesn't mean we reconcile and we're going to be buddy-buddy and lovey-lovey. It's like, I forgive you, but you stay over there.
Right. And you're forgiving and you can let it go. It doesn't have to be a part of your conversation. It just cannot be a part of your world at the time. Like, and that's okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, somebody, M. Lindsay said, I can relate. I told my deceiver the impact they were having on me, and my awesomeness led me to resign. I'm now in a much better senior role. I found my awesomeness within. And it's a fear. A lot of that can be fear. Like, especially if it's a boss or a spouse or a family member. Like, I can share a very specific little tiny story specifically about that, where I was bullied from the time I was a kid by my sister. And for years, like, she was just that person. And it wasn't until I was in my 30s that my mom even recognized that she actually bullied her Spanish teacher as well. And then started bullying her, my mother, and was bullying a lot of other people. And it took a long time to be like, I can love you, but you can be over there. And I don't need you in my world. I don't need you here all the time, but I can still love you and I can still forgive you for it and let it go. There was another one. Nessa said, I've never been in a talk like this. Are there other talks that can be like this? I want more. There's a whole week of them. So get the all access pass.
Of talks. Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Yep. And if you want more talks in terms of like what I do, you can go to giverofawesomeness.org and join my private group. It's a Facebook group where I do a lot of trainings, talk about adversity, bullying, and conflict often.
Giverofawesomeness.org.
Yeah, it takes you right to Facebook, to the group.
There you go. I just added it to the chat. And I also wanted to ask, you mentioned something about the 6-week course that you have that helps people get from here to there, and who are interested in the simple piece, not, oh, I have to go super like crazy into all of these other places. Tell us a little bit more about that. And this is not like a pitch. I heard that and was like, I know other people are wanting to know about that.
So it's really about, we have to go through the process to first get to all about what is the situation, because sometimes it happens, and it happens so quickly, you don't even recognize that it's happening. All of a sudden it's happening at work or even in your business. And you're like, I am doing a workaround for this person, and I don't know how I got to be doing this workaround. So you have to go back to the situation, and then you work through the steps. And we do it for 6 weeks so that you can see the pattern that exists, so that you don't repeat it. Because ultimately we'll repeat patterns in our lives until we break it completely.
So that's awesome. So make sure that you check out Raushawna's course on that. And there's another question from Sharita. Are there any practical ways to retrain your thoughts to help heal past bullying moments that have ingrained themselves in your mind, especially if it's happened so long ago?
Absolutely, yes. So there are different techniques that you can use. The first, I would say, just to give you something right now, and then if you want to message me afterwards and talk through some other things, we can do that. But the first thing is to go back to the first time it happened. You have to go back to the first time, because that's where the root, just like planting any other seeds or anything, that's where it started. So you have to go back to the first time and really unlock that little part of you, especially if you were younger or just didn't know. You have to be able to, in the moment, like as an adult or however old you are now, go back and get that little girl and bring that little girl with you into your now. And there's a series of ways that we do that, because one of the ways is you have to say to that little girl, you're safe with me now. Like, I'm the grown up, I'm the strong one, I've got the awesomeness, I'm going to take you by the hand, and we're going to do the rest of our lives together. And the reason you want to do that is because if not, like Melanie, you and I, we just met, but if I was triggered every time someone said my name, because when I grew up, if I grew up in a household where Raushawna was yelled, even you saying my name could make me feel like, maybe not, maybe I shouldn't show up. And so until you go back and get that young girl and break her by the hand, you won't be able to be like, I'm awesome, say my name.
Yeah. And that little girl, that's a big, huge thing to say, because that little girl practice is so huge. And a lot of us, if you even think right this moment, let me hold my 8-year-old's hand, my own 8-year-old's hand, and tell her that what she's going through right now, it's going to be okay. Feel that. Like, even now, just saying that, I'm like, okay. Oh, okay. Yep. Holding her hand. Got it. Because it's hard for us to go back and take care of ourselves, because maybe we weren't taken care of. And that's the people who were bullying us, or the people who needed to be there for us, weren't there for us when we needed it. So there's a couple of questions in here too. So let me, okay. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to add to that.
I was just going to say, we can show up because we're adults, and even if we feel like we don't have it, we can still stand in the gap for our parents, our siblings, and other people in our minds now. And there's strategies and ways to do that. And I work with clients to do that as a coach. Yeah,
it's definitely hang out with her. All right. So what changed that made you stand up to that bully? Like, what shifted for you?
What shifted for me was literally that bathroom rock bottom moment was the beginning of the change. And then I had to go back, and I realized that I also had that same experience when I was in my job, which is why I left my job. So literally I went from one bully boss, minimizing bully boss, to a deceiving business experience. So I had to break the cycle and the chain. And then I went back to when I was bullied as a child. And I was bullied in elementary school, to the point to where in elementary school, one of the things I talk about in my book I'll share is that when we were saying the Pledge of Allegiance, and when I was in 6th grade, as we said the pledge, when it was over and I sat down on my chair, someone was holding a pencil, and that pencil pierced me. Yeah, like 2 inches from my vagina. Yep. And that was like a moment that I'll never forget. And so having to run out of the classroom, go to the nurse's office, have my parents get called, like all of the shame that went with that moment was something that I hadn't even really talked about. Like, I just stuffed it down, you know, like made it go away.
All do.
Like we all do.
Because like everyone gets bullied, so it's fine. Like, you shouldn't worry about it. Everybody gets bullied.
It's just a part of the process.
No, it's
and even
not.
Now, it's not. And there are a lot of people that go into middle school, or have kids that go into middle school, and they anchor their children to the middle school is going to be hard. You're going to get teased. Right. It's just a part of the process. It doesn't have to be that way.
No, it doesn't. There's actually somebody had asked a question that kind of feeds into what you were just talking about. How to stop attracting people like this? Is it something in us that needs to level up so we aren't targeted? And I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on that based on what you just said and how you kind of broke the cycle. Keep going with that.
Yeah, so it's actually understanding that they're choosing you for a reason so that then you can decide where you're going to put that awesomeness. So the first thing is understanding they keep coming for you. Every single person that came for me, and the reasons I was bullied from childhood through adulthood, is because I was standing out in some way, shape, or form. And that's why I do what I do now, even more. So before that, I was kind of like, I'm going to consult and I'm going to do things, but I'll kind of be behind the scenes. And once I realized, like, oh, my whole life, people have been bullying me and talking about me because I've been standing out. I've been winning at games I didn't even know I was playing with people. Now I'm like, oh, well, I'm just going to be full out. I'm just going to like share this with everybody. I'm going to talk and just like give to as many people as I can, because there's no way, like if they're going to come for me, they might as well come for me as I'm doing my awesomeness versus me just trying to sit and be small, because that doesn't work either. Yeah. So for you out there, rather than thinking about how do I do less, it's actually do more of the thing that you're being targeted for, because that's the thing that they see you as, that you have, and it's your gift, it's your awesomeness. Give it to the world, give it to wherever you can, because that's what you're called to do.
And it's kind of going back to the taking what you're hearing from the bullies. And a lot of you are talking about sharing this with your preteens and your teenagers and your kids and high school kids even. I just saw a note about that if you're getting bullied for something, that means that someone is having a really hard time with you being bigger than they are in that way. And if you look at who you are now, like I'm almost 40, and I look at what I was teased for when I was a kid, it's the same stuff that people are jealous that I have now. Like, you're too tall, you're too skinny, you're too whatever, you're too loud, you're too whatever. And now I'm just like, yes, I am.
Yes, I am. Yes.
And thank you for bullying me for that, now that I can actually own it as an adult and go, that's a good thing. I'm glad I'm too loud and too much and too big, that kind of thing. So I love that.
I used to get teased for being, you speak like a white girl. Like, I would get that all the time. I got booed.
What does that even mean? Like, really, what does that even mean?
I mean, even as an adult, I had a woman, after I was speaking in front of about 200 people, someone came up to me and said, I'm so glad that you don't sound like a Raushawna when you speak.
What?
Yeah. And I mean, I'm 38, so I was maybe 32, 33. So I'm like a grown up, like I have children and stuff. And I just said to her, thank you. I understand what you're trying to say.
But it's really racist to say that, like, at all. Like, that's just, there's so many things wrong with that I can't even, like, my brain would explode if someone said that. Oh my gosh. No.
But at the end of the day, the backhanded compliment is the same that goes with when I was teased when I was little. It's the understanding that how I speak, you remember, it stands out, which is why I'm supposed to do more of it.
Yes, exactly.
It's the awesomeness. And that's what you have to do. That's what everybody has to do.
Goodness. All right. Well, we have to wrap this up. And there's so many, I love all the comments in the chat. And I just want to say thank you, Raushawna, for sharing your incredible awesomeness with us and for helping us own our awesomeness and reminding us, because I know some people are probably like, oh yeah, no, I think about this all the time. And other people are like, what? I've never even thought about this before. We're all picking up something that we can be like, oh yeah, I could start doing that now. And if you're thinking about the fact that you might be the bully to other people, you might have said something like what Raushawna heard. If you're the person saying it, maybe you can think about how you're saying it and what you're saying. So if you haven't watched the whole thing, like, make sure that you watch the replay, or if you jumped on a little late, make sure that you watch this again, because I'm going to want to watch this a couple times and make sure that I can remember that I have to keep owning my awesome too. So thank you, Raushawna, for this, and thank you for sharing. The slides are going to be in the Value Vault, and if you have, she's got her 6-week course, and go check her out on all of the platforms. But I wanted to close out the day today with a little note about making sure that you join us for tomorrow, because it's day 5 tomorrow, and we still have even more content that you guys can get from this incredible summit. hashtag Women Thrive Summit. Make sure that you're in the Facebook group if you're not already, because there's even more stuff in there. And then if you haven't upgraded, definitely do that. I got my ticket on day one because I was like, I missed one talk and was like, no, I'm not missing any of this stuff. So make sure you do that. And there's over $1,000 worth of goodies in there, plus all of the slides. And then there's also the lifetime of replay access. So I'm going to go back and listen to a whole bunch of talks, including this one again. Yeah. And one last little thing is the Women in Business membership. If you haven't joined the club, womeninbusiness.club, just head over there and jump in. It's only $29 a month, which is like $1 a day. So it's way cheaper than buying coffee.
Right.
So get over there and join. And we have the special Thrive code. So if you join with a Thrive code, you actually get that for the $29 a month. And there's over 70 hours of incredible content contributed by tons and tons of women who are just incredible. So join the tribe and hang out with us. And we're going to wrap up the day. So Raushawna, you are amazing. And thank you so much for letting us hear your awesomeness. And we will talk to you all soon. Thanks, ladies.
Bye. Thank you.